Chads, if you're anything like me and you're slightly autistic, you love to talk about topics you've been hyper-fixated on lately. And let's just say Jiu-jitsu is one of them for most of us Chads. Have you ever found yourself at a gathering or a local event or an event with other grappling Chads and been talking about the sport, talking about positions, and you're naming these positions off, and the non-grapplers or the non-BJJ participants look at you like you're freaking weird, like you have a screw loose on your head, and begin to question your sexuality? Well, have no fear. Today we'll be going over some of those positions and how to explain them to non-grapplers, okay? We'll be breaking down these positions, and hopefully it'll help you get out of a sticky situation in social settings. So let's get into it. The first position we have is the reverse close guard, aka the 69 guard, aka the first position you should show somebody that say that jiu-jitsu is very manly and not non-hetero at all. This is configured in a way where you have your legs wrapped around your opponent, but instead of, facing face to face intimately, you can keep some of your dignity and put your butt to their face and your head towards their crotch and get in this reverse position. Yeah, fellas like Abraham LaMontagne like to get into this position and hit the A block or the toe hold from this position. Many fellas like to get into the reverse close guard via the K guard. If they cannot get that leg swung around into the K guard position, they just shoot up, taint to the face, and they lock up the close guard. And this is a very effective position. But if you try to show it to your non-BJJ counterparts, or maybe you try to hit it on a female training partner, this may not go over well. So how would I explain this to a non-BJJ person? I would say, hey, have you ever thought to yourself, I don't want to look at a person in the eyes as I'm strangling them or breaking their feet. I would like to keep my dignity and shove my butt into their face, okay? Because what is more demeaning than not only getting submitted, but getting submitted while another person's booty hole's in your face, okay? You sniff it, maybe they don't wipe well, and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, freaking, get some Johnny Slicks baby wipes and freaking wipe that bottom of yours, okay? Use the Beast Wash and get down there and clean that butthole. So yeah, that is a tricky position, the reverse close guard. Next up, we have the Octopus Guard, a.k.a. the reach around guard, a.k.a. 50-50 with a twist. So Octopus Guard, people will be looking at you like, what in the world is this Chad saying? And you're saying, well, it is a modified half guard position. You reach around their waist, you have your two legs wrapped around another man's leg, and you're in the bottom position, but you're a power bottom, okay? You don't just accept the position, you freaking get up and get into the man, and you reach around and you grab upon their waist. The other man has a similar position on you, but he's on top of you and does not have quite the leverage you have. And so his arm is over the top trying to freaking get you down, and you're trying to sweep the position, okay? The reach around guard is made popular by the most heterosexual male in BJJ, Craig Jones. It is an effective guard, especially if you're long and lanky and have a couple extra inches on you. It is a very effective guard. So, Octopus Guard, or the reach around guard. Next up, we got the Japanese terminology for moves, okay? Japanese terminology is not only popular for jiu-jitsu moves, but also for a category of adult films. So therefore, you could say there's a lot of similarities between those two, and that there's some weird stuff that people look up. But yeah, anywho, we have inside Senkaku, outside Senkaku, Juji Gatami, and whatnot. And, if you're not a Danaher diehard and Danaher follower, then you might not even know the Japanese terms, okay? And I highly recommend you stay out of the Japanese term rail, because once you get in there, it's a slippery slope, and people will look at you funny and question how far have you gone down this rabbit hole? And you have to thoroughly explain to yourself that it's a healthy obsession and that it's actually not that weird at all. Many people are into saying the Japanese term for these moves, and it's just not, it's not weird at all, you know? It's not weird at all. But I highly recommend staying out of the Japanese jiu-jitsu term realm, just keeping yourself centered in the hobbyist terminology. Single leg X is perfectly fine. X guard is perfectly fine to say. The Australian down under saddle is fine to say. So just kind of try to stay out of those Japanese terminology, and you'll get less weird looks, okay? Next up, we have the... this thing has more names than freaking a FBI agent who's undercover, okay? It is 411, saddle, inside Senkaku, Honeyhole, all right? The most precarious of these names is Honeyhole. You will get several weird glances looking at you. They're like, what is Honeyhole? Why is this guy talking about this at work? That is not safe to talk about at work. That is not appropriate to talk about at work. I do not want to know about your Honeyhole. Or, you know, if is this assault? Are you trying to lure me into some type of assault, some type of trap? And you got to explain to your coworkers, no, it's actually a position in Jiu-jitsu where I can do a devastating break on your leg. It is also commonly referred to as saddle 411 inside Senkaku. This is one situation where, you know, maybe a Japanese term would be better than the American term if you're going to use Honeyhole, okay? I would say just go ahead and use inside Senkaku. You'll get less weird glances, less threatening behavior, okay? But, you know, let's just go ahead and stay away from Honeyhole and stay away from inside Senkaku and stick with either 411 or saddle, okay? Those are two much better phrases for those, for that position, and it will get you a lot less weird looks amongst non-BJJ counterparts. Mother's milk is not a position, but a submission, and it is a odd name for a submission. And if you say mother's milk around somebody who's not around the BJJ community or around the grappling community, they might look at you like you are a serial killer, like you are Jeffrey Dahmer alive in the flesh. And to be honest, very odd submission name, okay? Did the person have mother issues? Do they still drink breast milk? I don't know. Do they have an infatuation with large breast? I don't know. But, you know, that is the common name for the submission. It is quite funny. But if you are out and about and say, yeah, I hit the guy in the mother's milk, you're going to get a couple sideways glances. You're not going to get very many lovingly glances from the opposite sex. They're going to be like, what did he just say? He just drowned that guy in his mother's milk. Like, why is he making the lactation product for babies into a submission and trying to freaking waterboard his opponents at this hobby he does? That is just freaking odd. So I guess a good way to avoid that is not to use mother's milk per se, but maybe go ahead and use the word smother tap, okay? Still a little odd, but it'll get you less glances, less weird looks if you say smother tap instead of mother's milk, okay? Next up is basically any 10th planet originated system. So Crackhead Control is one of them. Like, what in the world? Like, you're explaining a person, you should come do Jiu-jitsu. I have this sick move called Crackhead Control, and they're like, okay, why are we defending ourselves against crackheads? I feel like a good way to not get into a scuffle with a crackhead is to just not hang out with crackheads or be in a place where crackheads frequent, such as, you know, abandoned parks, abandoned hospitals. Where else would, maybe like an abandoned bus that's broken down in the middle of the road. If you're in these places frequently, then I suggest you go to a 10th planet school and learn the Crackhead Control. But if you're not, then you don't need to learn it, okay? So any Try to refrain from using 10th planet terminology unless you're around 10th planet people or you're around crackheads or people that are high. So, if anything, it'll just give you a lot of weird glances and people will be like, oh my god, this guy has lost his mind. No Andrew Wiltsey, though. Next up, we have the mermaid wrap, okay? The mermaid wrap is... It is a thing of beauty. It is a thing that is used to utilize for the utmost control. You wrap your legs around your opponent's legs, and they can do nothing about it. There is a sweep from bottom called Mermaid Sweep, okay? Besides being a beautiful, majestic creature from the depths of the seas, Mermaid is a great jiu-jitsu tool. This may not give you a lot of like weird glances in terms of like, wow, I feel alarmed at the this man who might want to put me in the mermaid wrap. Maybe more so like, why is this 40-year-old man obsessed with mermaids? Very odd. Should we put him on a watch list? Should he be near a school within 500 yards? Should he be revealing some information to us that he has not revealed because that is against the law? But yeah, I would just explain, hey, mermaid wrap is nothing weird, nothing predatory. It is just a position in BJJ where you use your legs to entangle their legs, whether it is using control from top position, such as Khabib Nurmagomedov, or, using it to sweep your opponent from bottom. Chads, those are some commonly used terms in jiu-jitsu that would make the common man go, what in the world? And, those are just some explanations you can use, some phrases you can avoid in order to get some less weird glances in the public setting, or to get also a good way to some phrases to avoid if you don't want any weird looks at the party, or if you're trying to talk to the opposite gender. So I would just stick away from some of these, and if you need to explain some of the positions, I gave you some explanations you could use, and therefore I would take high advantage of them. I'll see you next time, Chads.